Is it even possible to grow food without destroying the nature around us? Here at Onion Grass Food Forest, I think it is. I think that's totally possible to grow food without pesticides and herbicides and chemical fertilizers. It's possible to grow food without eliminating the wildlife around us. So, in order to work with nature, first things first, we have to know who that is. Who are we even working with? And what is the role of those creatures? What is their habitat? What are their habits? What do they eat? And we need to understand those things in order to work with them and see how that plays a role also here in the food forest. So let's take a look at some footage of some creatures that I've been studying up a little bit on here in the food forest, and we're going to talk about that. Like, how do they fit in here, and how does the food forest fit in with them? Let's get to it. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jessie, and I'm growing a temperate food forest in Zone 7A in East Tennessee. And what a food forest is just a design strategy in which you grow food in a way that mimics a natural forest. So you can see behind me, I've got some trees here with some plants underneath, and I am attempting to grow them in the most natural way possible so that I can eat food that is pesticide free, herbicide free, all of those things. We're not using chemical fertilizers here. We are just growing things naturally. And on that note, I am attempting to work with nature. But in order to work with nature, I have to know who the heck that is. Like, who are we even talking about, right? Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you several different creatures that we got footage of that are here in our food forest. And this is certainly a strategy you can use in your food forest too. And that is getting footage of what's out there and researching these creatures to know how can you support them so they can in turn support what you're doing. Today in particular, we are going to focus on robins, rabbits, and possums. Spoilers, we've got footage of all those guys. I've got footage of some other creatures too that we'll touch upon, but just for the sake of time, I want to focus on those three so this doesn't become a full-length wildlife documentary on the wildlife of East Tennessee. Now, I've been trying to capture what footage I can when I'm outside, but there's also the issue of critters can be shy when people are around. So I've also set up some trail cams. In the next month, we're going to be changing positions and getting different angles on the food forest and the yard to see what else we capture. But take these two female cardinals, for instance. If you've ever wondered why you don't see female cardinals very much, well, it's because they are remarkably camouflaged when you compare them to their male counterparts. So the other day, after mulching around my plum tree guild behind me, I just took a seat here down in the mulch, and the robins that had been up in the trees decided that I didn't seem like much of a threat, and they started coming down to the lawn and doing their thing. One of the things I noticed in their behavior is that a handful of birds would stay up in the tree while the rest foraged, and then those birds would sound the alarm if they thought that a threat was present, so the other birds could alight up to the trees and get to safety. After researching what robins eat, I found out that they eat a lot of invertebrates, some of which are friendly to the gardener and of which are not. So for example, worms, gardener friendly, but others, things like beetles, grubs, caterpillars, a lot of insects that are destructive to the food that I'm going to be trying to grow, are exactly the kind of food that these robins want. But that's only during the warmer months. And during the colder months, those robins revert to eating wild berries that are still left on bushes, things like holly and hawthorn. So what I learned from that is that if I want the bug brigade here in the food forest helping with pest control, I should probably plant more holly and hawthorn on my property. And luckily I have gathered some holly seeds from the forest recently, so that shouldn't be too hard to support them. We also have evidence both through tracks and scat and footage that we have some rabbits. Thought I'd come out in the snow and see what's leaving tracks, because even though the snow covers some things up completely, it reveals other things. I'm pretty sure that's a rabbit footprint. Look at these two larger back feet and then the two front feet. Another thing that makes me believe that is look at how far apart the tracks are. There's one way over there and the next one's right here, which looks to me like something very bouncy. These older tracks right here are probably our cats. I think those, however, are bunny rabbits. And if we follow the bunny rabbit tracks, you can see they lead right back into the woods. We've also caught this little guy on our trail cam at least once. So we know we've got a bunny friend. You can see here the rabbit is remarkably vigilant while it eats. Compare that now with our cat Lilo. In the daylight here you can see where we mounted the camera to the bottom of this cherry tree here, and what the bunnies were nibbling on is currently the most ridiculous thing happening in this food forest right now. Let me show you. See that? That is butter crunch lettuce. Now why would I say that's ridiculous? Well, that butter crunch lettuce was planted in the fall. And I've got some more of it over here. And this butter crunch lettuce has survived the entire winter outdoors. It has survived the lowest of lows, which was 6 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put the Celsius up here. But you can see these little guys made it through winter, which is ridiculous. I mean, this is lettuce, right? Butter crunch has some of the most silky, delicate leaves. As it turns out, it's way more hardy than you think. But also, what's important to note here is that you notice the plant is still here. So the rabbits are coming. They're nibbling at the edges and taking little bits, but they're not taking the whole plant. And I think that's important to note in the behavior. So why is that important to note? Well, it's important because now I know that the rabbits are not decimating my crop. And since I know that the rabbits are present, all that means to me in my adjustments that I need to make for my food forest is I just need to seed a little extra lettuce. And I know that they're going to take some, so I need to account for some loss. But otherwise, they're letting the plants be. And on a side note, they're also fertilizing my food forest, right? With their droppings. Because as it turns out, rabbit poo is great fertilizer. Now, if you're concerned about the presence of rabbits in the food forest and think I should be more concerned, well, don't worry, I have some insider info on this property. All right, so every year for the past 4 years, there has been a mother fox who has had her litter in the backwoods behind our house. And that mother fox has done a very excellent job of keeping the local rabbit population in check. Speaking of rabbits and foxes and other critters I'm not about to shoot, we have a possum. That's right. I don't have footage of it here in the food forest, but I do have some footage of it coming up on our front porch and taking cat food. So possums, despite looking like giant rats, eat just about everything you probably don't want in a garden. All right, these guys eat slugs, snails, beetles, snakes, ticks, like almost everything that you would feel like was an uninvited guest to your garden or food forest. These guys eat. Like, I'm about ready to build this little fella an apartment. Invite him in for tea and cake or something. Oh my goodness. Man, do some research on possums. Don't you ever shoot one of those. They are awesome. And here in Tennessee, we have a lot of venomous snakes. And if I have an animal on my property that's going to help keep my family and my other critters safe from things like rattlesnakes and copperheads, you'd better believe I'm going to support that critter. Did I mention they also eat cockroaches? Yeah. About how ready are you right now to adopt a pet possum? One of the creatures I've had a little bit of trouble getting on film, though I have seen it in our neighborhood, is there are 3 vultures around that keep circling the neighborhood. And also, on that note, a second creature we haven't gotten on film yet is our local skunks. It is skunk mating season right now. We know because we can smell them, and also the incidents of roadkill have increased dramatically. And that's why we're also seeing an increase in the circling vultures. But these guys have a remarkably swift flight speed and are hard to catch on camera, but here are a few of my best attempts. I'm not really sure how the presence of vultures affects the food forest right now at this point, but their presence has been noted. I did a little bit of research on these guys, and all I have to say is I have learned my new most favorite fact from researching vultures, and that is that a group of vultures is called a committee. I think that's hilarious. Every time now that somebody tells me they're going to send something to committee, I'm going to imagine a bunch of vultures sitting around a boardroom table. But at any rate, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a few things or found some inspiration maybe to start looking at the wildlife where you are and thinking about more how you can work with that wildlife to achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve, and instead of working against it or trying to eliminate it. And thank you for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.